I thought Brian had just fallen asleep on the couch. Then his phone lit up. I saw Anna's name. You need to stop looking at me like that when she's here. My stomach dropped. I opened the thread, kept scrolling, and realized my wedding wasn't falling apart. It had already been destroyed. I was on the floor of our apartment in East Memphis with wedding papers all around me when my life ended. That sounds dramatic, but it's the only way I know how to say it. One minute I was comparing invitation samples and trying to decide if I wanted cream or ivory paper like that difference mattered. The next, I was staring at my sister's name on my fiancé's phone and feeling something inside me go cold so fast I almost felt calm. Brian was asleep on the couch behind me, still in his work clothes, one arm hanging off the side. The TV was on low. My tea had gone cold on the coffee table. It was a normal Tuesday night. The kind you forget 5 minutes after it happens. Anna had been there earlier. That part is what keeps replaying in my head. My sister had been sitting on the rug with me maybe an hour before, helping me go over flowers and dress colors, laughing about how I was overthinking candles. Nobody remembers candles, she said. People remember atmosphere. No, people remember open bar and good cake. Then she smiled and leaned into my shoulder. It's going to be beautiful. You always make things beautiful. She said that to my face and then went home after spending months sleeping with my fiancé. I didn't know that yet. I just thought I was lucky. Not in some flashy way. In the stable, boring way that starts to feel precious when you get older. Brian and I had built a life that felt settled. Shared bills. Shared routines. Wedding deposits paid. A guest list half finished. Real plans. Real furniture. Real adulthood. I thought Anna was part of that future too. She was my maid of honor. My little sister. The person who was supposed to stand beside me, not crawl into the middle of my life and tear it open. When Brian's phone lit up, I didn't mean to snoop. I reached back to move it before it slipped from his hand, and the screen brightened. Anna. At first, I actually smiled. I thought maybe they were planning something for me. A bridal surprise. A joke. Something harmless. Then I saw the message. You need to stop looking at me like that when she's here. I felt my entire body go still. Not my heart racing. Not instant tears. Just this horrible stillness, like my body knew the truth before my brain caught up. I opened the thread. There were months of messages. Flirting first. Then private jokes. Then complaints about me. Then details. Hotel rooms once. His car. Our apartment. My parents' house after a cookout in Germantown. My parents' house. That one made me stop breathing for a second. I kept scrolling because some part of me still thought there had to be a version of this that made less sense. One drunk mistake. One cross line. One thing I could classify and hate cleanly. But it wasn't one thing. It was a whole second relationship built behind my back while they smiled at me in daylight. The message that broke me wasn't even sexual. It was Anna saying, I hate when she talks about the future like it's actually happening. Like it's actually happening. My wedding. My future. My life. The thing I was spending every day building. To them it was some pathetic fantasy they were humoring while they laughed at me in private. I sat there reading until my face felt numb. Then I turned and said his name. Brian. Nothing. A little louder. Brian. He opened his eyes slowly, confused at first. Then he saw his phone in my hand. I watched the sleep leave his face in 1 second. Laura, he said. How long? That was all I asked. He sat up too fast. It's not what you think. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp and ugly. I'm holding texts between you and my sister. What exactly do you think I think? He stood up. Please let me explain. How long? He rubbed both hands over his face. It wasn't consistent at first. That made me laugh again, harder. Not consistent. Like the issue was frequency. Like sleeping with your fiancé's sister every now and then was somehow less disgusting. He tried to step toward me. Laura, please. I stood up so fast the planner slid off my lap. Don't. He stopped. His eyes were wet already. Tears. Real ones. That almost made it worse. It got out of control, he said. I was going to end it. When? He said nothing. When, Brian? I don't know. No, really. Before the wedding? After? After I stood there in front of everyone and looked like an idiot. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? He swallowed hard. I love you. That almost knocked the air out of me. Not because I believed him. Because of how obscene it sounded in that moment. I held up the phone. Does Anna know you're standing here saying that? His face changed. Just for a second. Annoyance. Real annoyance. That was the moment something in me snapped cleanly into place. Not because I was suddenly strong. Because I finally understood that I was surrounded by people who were never going to tell the truth unless they were cornered. I went into the bedroom and pulled out a duffel bag. He followed me. What are you doing? Leaving. Don't do this. I turned around. You don't get to say that. Can we please just talk? We are way past talking. I packed clothes without folding them. Jeans. Sweaters. Underwear. my laptop charger, toiletries. The basic things you grab when your real life has just turned fake and you need to get somewhere that still feels solid. He kept talking from the doorway. It just happened. I didn't mean for this. I was confused. I love you. The word confused stuck in my head so hard I almost laughed again. Confused. As if my sister and I were interchangeable options and he'd accidentally clicked the wrong one. When I zipped the bag, he said, "Where are you going?" I looked at him and said, "Somewhere you and Anna aren't." Then I walked out. I drove to Maria's place in Midtown because she was the one person I knew would open the door without asking questions first. She opened it in pajama pants, saw my face, and said, "What happened?" I tried to answer, but the second I heard a kind voice, I lost it. I cried so hard I couldn't talk. She pulled me inside, sat me on the couch, got me water, waited. When I finally got the words out, she just stared at me. "No," she said. "I saw the messages." "No." Months. Her face changed from confusion to fury in about 3 seconds. "Your sister." I nodded. She sat down slowly beside me. "Okay, you're staying here." That was it. No speeches. No stupid advice. Just certainty. I didn't sleep. I sat there until sunrise, replaying every family dinner, every wedding conversation, every time Anna and Brian had been in the same room, and I hadn't thought twice. The human brain is cruel like that. It starts rewriting your memories instantly. It takes every safe moment and poisons it. At 8 in the morning, I called Anna. She answered on the second ring, sounding completely normal. "Hey, that did something awful to me." The casualness. The brightness. Like this was any other morning. I said, "How long have you been sleeping with Brian?" Silence. Not shocked silence. Not confused silence. Guilty silence. Then she sighed. "I was going to tell you." That sentence hit harder than I expected. Not sorry. Not denial. Not panic. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "Soon." "Before or after the wedding?" "Laura, don't." "Don't what?" "Make this uglier than it already is." I remember pulling the phone away from my ear and staring at it. "Uglier than it already is. You slept with my fiancé." It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. It got complicated. No. It got repeated. She went quiet again. Then I asked the thing I almost didn't want answered. "Did you make fun of me together?" That silence was the answer, but she gave me words anyway. "Sometimes." I closed my eyes. Maria was in the kitchen pretending not to listen, but I could feel the rage rolling off her from across the room. I asked why. Anna exhaled like she was exhausted by me. "Because he gets me." I actually laughed. "He was engaged to me." "I know." "Then what exactly did you think was happening?" Her voice got sharper. Colder. "If I'm being honest, I think he and I make more sense together." There it was. The line that killed whatever part of me still wanted my sister back. Not because it was cruel, even though it was. Because it was proud. She wasn't confessing. She was competing. Somewhere in her head, this was still a thing she could win. I hung up. Then I became a machine. I emailed the venue. Called the florist. Canceled the rental company. Contacted the photographer. Lost deposits. Didn't care. I sent one short message to both families. The wedding is off due to repeated dishonesty and betrayal. I am not discussing this right now. Do not come to Maria's apartment. Do not come to my work. Then I turned my phone face down. It still lit up nonstop. My mother first. Then my father. Then my Aunt Sharon. Then cousins. Then Brian again. Then Anna. Then Brian's mother. It went on for hours. By noon I turned the whole thing off. The next day my mother showed up downstairs at Maria's building. Maria called me from the lobby and said, "Your mom's here." I felt rage so clean it almost steadied me. I don't want to see her. I figured. 10 minutes later my mother called from an unknown number. I answered before I could stop myself. "Laura, please," she said, already crying. "Please don't shut me out." "Did you know?" "What?" "Did you know something was going on?" "No." Too fast. Then she corrected herself. "Not like that." I sat down on the edge of Maria's bed because suddenly my legs didn't feel reliable. "What does that mean?" She started crying harder. I noticed they were a little too comfortable sometimes. I told Anna she needed better boundaries. That's all. I didn't know it was an affair. My throat closed. She knew enough to feel uneasy. Enough to warn Anna. Enough to notice something was wrong. And she still let me keep planning a wedding. "You let me look stupid," I said. "Laura, that's not fair." "No, what's not fair is standing beside me at dress fittings while you knew enough to worry and said nothing." "What was I supposed to do? Accuse your sister and your fiancé based on a feeling?" "Yes." She went quiet. "Yes," I said again. "That is exactly what you were supposed to do." Then she said the sentence that changed how I looked at my whole family. "Please don't blow up the family over this." Over this. Not over what they did. Over this. My reaction. My refusal to make it quiet and manageable. I hung up on her. That started the real pressure. My dad called and left a voicemail saying, "Sisters have to outlast men." Aunt Sharon texted, "People do crazy things before weddings." My cousin Rebecca wrote, "Anna is spiraling. Please try to show some grace." Grace. That word made me feel sick. Brian sent paragraphs. He said he loved me. He said Anna came to him during a hard stretch. He said it never meant anything real. He said he'd cut her off. He said we could fix this if I didn't tell too many people. That was when I realized he still thought this was negotiable. Like, if he picked me now, I should be grateful. I replied once. "Do not contact me again." Then I blocked him. Anna's messages came in waves. First guilt. Then self-pity. Then anger. "I love you. I hate myself. You're not the only one hurting. You disappeared and left me alone to take all the blame." That last one almost made me throw my laptop across Maria's living room. She slept with my fiancé and somehow still found a way to make herself sound abandoned. That was Anna all over. Even at the center of someone else's pain, she still needed to be the main character. After a week, I changed my number, deleted my social media, told only Maria, my boss, and 2 close friends where I was staying. I didn't announce it. I just vanished. Apparently that caused chaos. Good. That is one of the ugliest honest things I can say, but it's true. Once I stopped answering, they had to sit with what they'd done without using me to absorb their guilt. No family meetings. No forced apologies. No carefully managed healing timeline that turned my humiliation into a group project. They wanted access to my pain so they could start controlling the story. I took that away. A month later, Brian showed up at my office downtown. Security called up and said, "There's a man here asking for you." I knew immediately. For 1 second, I almost went downstairs. Not because I missed him. Because I wanted to see his face. I wanted to know if he looked ashamed or just desperate. Instead I said, "Tell him to leave. If he comes back, call the police." Then I hung up and sat there shaking for 10 minutes. 3 months later, a job opened up in Nashville. Better pay. Smaller team. Clean break. I took it so fast it scared me. When I told my parents by email, my mother called 16 times. My father sent one message. "Please don't do something permanent because of temporary pain." But this wasn't temporary pain. It was permanent clarity. So I packed my life into boxes and left Memphis. The apartment I found in Nashville was smaller than the one Brian and I shared. Quieter too. No wedding planner on the counter. No engagement photo frames. No history built into the walls. The first night there, I ate takeout on the floor because my table hadn't arrived yet. And for the first time since I found those texts, I felt something that wasn't rage or humiliation or grief. Quiet. Just quiet. That turned out to be more valuable than closure. The fallout reached me anyway, because news travels through families even when you want it dead. Brian and Anna tried dating openly after everything came out. That lasted 6 weeks. Then I heard through Rebecca that Brian had been texting another woman while telling Anna they should start fresh now that everything was finally honest. I laughed so hard when I heard that I had to sit down. Finally honest. Apparently Anna found out, went to my parents' house, and completely lost it in their kitchen. Crying. Yelling. Throwing something. My mother called Rebecca afterward like she was reporting a natural disaster. Rebecca told me over coffee one weekend. She kept saying, "How could he do this to me?" I just looked at her. "How could he do this to me?" I repeated. Rebecca winced. Yeah, that should have felt satisfying. Maybe part of it did. But mostly it felt small. Predictable. A person who could help ruin my life was somehow still shocked that the same man would lie to her too. My mother wrote me a 4-page letter around Christmas. She said the family felt broken. She said the holidays were wrong without me. She said Anna was depressed. She said my father wasn't sleeping. She said if I kept this up, there might be damage we couldn't undo. I read that line 3 times. Because yes, exactly. There was damage we couldn't undo. But she kept writing like I was creating it now, through distance, through silence. Like the irreversible thing was me leaving, not them betraying me. I folded the letter and put it away. That winter, I finally let myself grieve what I had really lost. Not Brian, exactly. I missed routine sometimes. Company. The shape of having someone there. But I didn't miss him. Once trust dies, the person you miss turns out to be mostly the version you invented. I grieved Anna more than I expected. Not the woman she became. The girl she used to be to me. The kid who climbed into my bed during storms. The teenager who stole my sweaters. The little sister who used to call me from college because I was the only real adult she knew. I grieved my parents too, because some part of my belief in them died. I had always thought that if something truly awful happened, they would orient themselves around truth. Maybe clumsily. Maybe late. But eventually. Instead, they oriented themselves around comfort. Whatever version of events demanded the least courage from them, that was the version they chose. By spring, people started telling me I looked lighter. Maria visited and said it the second she saw me. "You can breathe again." She was right. Healing wasn't dramatic. It wasn't one big speech or one perfect revenge. It was grocery shopping without crying, sleeping through the night, laughing with coworkers and realizing an hour had passed without thinking about Brian, making coffee in a kitchen where nobody had lied to me. Small honest things started feeling enormous. The last message I ever got from Anna came on my birthday. New email address, of course. It was short. I hope one day you understand that people are messy and what happened wasn't meant to destroy you. I loved you then and I love you now. I read it once and deleted it. Because no. People are messy, yes. People are weak. People are selfish. But sleeping with your sister's fiancé for months while helping plan her wedding is not messy. It is cruel. And cruel people love soft language because it helps them sound human without actually taking responsibility. As far as I know, Anna is still in Memphis. Brian moved away. I don't know where. I never asked. My father sends neutral emails once or twice a year. Weather, health, work. My mother still writes like reconciliation is one emotional phone call away if I just stop being stubborn. Maybe someday I'll answer. Maybe I won't. People always want the ending to be cleaner than it is. They want to know if I forgave them, if I confronted them, if I got the perfect revenge. If I made my mother cry with some devastating speech she'll remember forever. I didn't. I didn't give them a speech. I left. That was the speech. That was the boundary. That was the revenge, if there was any. I stopped giving them access to my pain. I stopped letting them rewrite my humiliation into a sad little misunderstanding everyone should move past for the sake of family. I took my life out of their hands and built something smaller, quieter, and honest. Sometimes I still think about the version of me sitting on that floor in East Memphis, holding invitation samples, believing she was surrounded by love. I don't hate her for being naive. I feel protective of her. She was trusting the people who taught her that trust was safe. That isn't stupidity. That's what happens when you don't know the room is full of liars. And maybe that's the part one carry most now. Not the rage. Not even the humiliation. Just the certainty that once I knew the truth, I left before they could talk me into calling it something smaller than it was. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't mess. It was betrayal, repeated until it became a pattern, then defended until it became my fault for not making it easier to live with. So yes, I disappeared. I changed my number. I left Memphis. I let them have each other and the wreckage they made. I built a life where peace mattered more than closure. And some nights, when everything is quiet and I'm making dinner in an apartment that has never held a single lie I didn't invite in, I think about how badly they wanted one final conversation. One big dramatic scene where I stayed in the room and let them explain themselves into feeling better. They never got it. All they got was my absence. All I got was my peace. And honestly, after what they did, that feels like the fairest ending I could have given myself. So tell me this. If your sister and your fiancé made a whole private world out of humiliating you while your family begged you not to blow things up, would you have stayed and forced everyone to face you, or would you have done exactly what I did and vanished?